Awesome. Talofalava, malo lavale soifua, kia orana, malo lele, Nissan Bolivanaka. Welcome back, everyone. You're on the air with B&B again. Today we have a very special guest again. We have Mac Fuiava, who is from Spectroom. And if you don't know about Spectroom, they are a sensory room, which has been set up over at Mount Albert, Mount Roskill, but we're going to get into that. We're just going to go through our formalities. Well, it's not really a formality, but I've got my brother on the other side over there who's going to quickly introduce himself, and we're going to get straight into it. Bryan.
Mac, Ben makes me laugh every single time. Did you hear when I just said, say your bit and I'll introduce Mac? And then he just totally introduced me. Anyway.
When you feel the flow.
My name is Bryan Leiloa and I'm from RTLB Cluster 12. And as Ben has already said, we're welcoming Mac Fuiava from Spectroom. And Mac, it's just a pleasure to have you here. Thank you for coming and talking to us.
Thank you.
Talking to our RTLB network. Mac, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself and your family?
Sure. I'm Samoan. I was born in Samoa. And my parents, my dad is from the village of Saleamoa in Whastautai. Whastauta, and my mom is from Lano, Hawaii. I'm married to a Mexican girl. She's from Mexico City, and together we have one son. He is 5 years old now. And yeah, so we started on the journey very, very early.
Oh, wow. How old were you both?
Yeah, we moved here when we were quite young, at such a young age. And five of us, I have 5 siblings. And my wife has 1 sister. So that's a little bit about where I come from.
I'm just curious, how did you and your wife meet?
We met
the Samoan Mexican mix is very interesting.
Very yes, I heard that.
Common in America.
Yeah, we met here. We met here in Auckland City. We met here in the city. We both met while I was working. I was currently doing the doors at the time. And she was on the very first night we met while she was doing the door charge. Not familiar with, I'm not sure if you're familiar, but I'm pretty sure you know the old bar that used to be called the Waterfront.
Yeah, Ben knows it.
Yes. I'm not telling my age though.
Yeah. So that was about 16 years ago.
Lovely.
And that's where we first met. And yeah, so we've been married for a little over 10 years now.
Congratulations.
And our son is now 5 years old. So turned 5 in Jan. But we met here while she was here visiting for 2 years.
Whoa.
Wow.
So yeah.
So tell us about your son, Matthias. How did you know that there was something different about Matthias?
Sure. So when my son was about 7 months, going on to 8 months, you know, as a child, when you have a child that's, you know, a boy, you have all these plans. Us as dads and moms, we all have our own plans and sort of plan out the future for your son of what you want to do when he grows up.
Yeah, all black.
At 7 months, my wife and I saw that there were things that was just not quite there. You know, when you reach a certain age, you start to see some milestones, and my son wasn't really quite there. There was no physical contact, no eye contact, didn't like to be touched. And just not responding to his name every time his name was called out. And he zoned out most of the time. So my wife was spending a lot of time with my son, and she started seeing a lot of that. She started doing a lot of research. She reached out to her family in Mexico, family of doctors, and they started moving things around. So by the time it was 8 months, her brother that is a doctor in Mexico started asking questions, sending him videos, photos, and things that he was, you know, particularly things that he was doing that was just not there. And they came back, and by the time he was 14 months, they diagnosed him from Mexico City. And so there's between 8 months and 12, 14 months, they saw a lot of traits, and they were clear that he had a lot of autistic traits. So those are the things that that's where we started our journey. So by the time I was away at the time, I traveled a lot for work. And my wife had contacted me when he was 14 months and said, I need you to sit down. I need you to tell you something, because this is not easy. So, but my wife had sort of mentioned between that time that there are just things that I'm a bit concerned about. And I said, okay,
Yeah.
you know, like straight away as a Samoan dad, you have all these things in your head. He goes, oh, I think maybe you're just overthinking things, but okay, just tell me what do we need to do? And do we need to get him checked for something or? But, the wife has always been quite switched on with those things, just doing a lot of research. And when she broke the news to me that my son was diagnosed from overseas, that he was autistic.
How did you react?
Not easy.
Mm.
As any parent that goes through this journey, whether it's autism or whatever it is, that any parent that goes through any diagnosis for whatever the condition, there's a grieving process that you go through.
Definitely.
And I went through that. I needed a couple of weeks to take it all in. So by the time he was 16 months old, he was diagnosed here in New Zealand. So my wife, straight away after he was diagnosed from overseas, my wife put my son on the waiting list for both private and public. We got really lucky. We got a call within pretty much those months that we had a spot available within a week. After a couple of months of waiting, we got a spot within within a week's time, and we took it privately, and we saw Dr. Warwick, which is basically the only specialist that can diagnose kids under that age.
Wow.
Because at the time, kids can only be diagnosed from the age of 3 up.
Yes,
So,
definitely more.
Yeah. So we got in through Dr. Warwick and we got him diagnosed. And of course, when you get that confirmation, there's a lot of weight that sort of just goes away. But you're still in that whole period of, the unknown. You just don't know, because one thing is you're learning to be a parent as a first-time parent. But now you got to learn how to be a parent to an autistic child, a child with special needs.
Absolutely.
So that's where that journey started. With my son. And this was 2020 as we went into lockdown.
Of all the years, eh?
Of all the years, yeah.
Did you know anything about autism when you heard the diagnosis?
No idea. I've heard about it. I knew at the time, to be quite honest, I knew at the time that I think we're so used to the word Asperger's.
Yes.
At the time, we've gotten so used to the word Asperger's, but I didn't really know much about the traits, much about what it was all about. I knew it was a disability, and when we were told that my son was autistic and he had all the traits with flying colors, he had all the traits, lining things up, and ABCs and numbers and colors and shapes, everything you can think of in terms of traits, my son was doing it. And so after that period of that 2 weeks period that I wanted to take some time off to learn, to grieve, I turned around and I said to my wife, okay, let's do this. What do we need to do? So my wife at the time, she was working from home, but she was doing marketing at the time. And my wife and I decided that we needed to focus on what we needed to do. So my wife took basically resigned from her job And she said to me that the best way for us to learn about, because we had no idea, other than doing research online and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Right.
The best way for us to learn about autism was to learn from within, from the system itself. So my wife applied for a job with Autism New Zealand as an outreach coordinator, and she got the job.
Right.
So she's been during that time, during COVID, she was doing a lot of work from home. A lot of her work was done from home. But we learned a lot. There was a lot of things that we learned that we had no idea it existed. And we during that time, my wife started buying all these things online, and we set up our house as pretty much a Spectrum. We had a trampoline. We still have a trampoline in the middle of the living room. And we have trampolines outside. We're very fortunate that we were able to do a lot of that stuff during COVID.
Yes.
We set up, so I've got a big backyard. So we set up the whole backyard with swings and everything, because we felt like that was the only way for us to drain some of the energy, because we saw a lot of the energy that was coming out. And we were kind of struggling a little bit. There was no sleep. So we had a hammock that was set up in the living room as well, because we saw that was the only way we could put him to sleep. We couldn't put him to sleep at all. We tried everything, and every time we put him in the hammock, he would fall asleep.
Wow.
So we built a hammock in the living room. Built a hammock in the living room, and
I bet you wanted to jump in there.
Well, we both wanted to jump in there. So we had to learn a lot along the way. And a lot of those things were just things that we had to look online and had to try and test things out. If it didn't work, we would just remove it. We would just remove it. And a lot of those things we were just testing things out. And during that time, it was a lot to learn.
So I was very fortunate to come and visit Spectrum a couple of weeks ago, and thank you for your hospitality. It's an amazing place. Can you tell us a little bit more about it, and maybe that idea of how Spectrum came about?
So the idea started off from so during the after COVID, when my wife started working for Autism New Zealand, there's programs, there's workshops that Autism New Zealand runs for parents. So we joined one of those programs for 10 weeks, and we met some amazing parents through that, and a lot of them we're still very close now as families. We met some amazing parents, and we decided, let's do an outing. Let's all go out for outing. So 4 sets of parents, 4 autistic kids. We all went out. We all went to an indoor chipmunks in Henderson. We lasted 15 minutes, and because we had no idea. It was our first ever trip out. And we all went out as a group. So we were all kind of like, maybe this will be a good idea. It's our first time ever go to an indoor playground. We don't know what to expect. We lasted 15 minutes. Our kids were getting run over by the older kids. And so we all started, freaking out a little bit. And I just said to the parents, I think we're done. Because my son was just I can never forget the look on my son's face. He
just overload.
It was just so much. Just overloaded was just so much. The kids, too many kids. There was just a lot going on, lights and everything. He just basically went into shutdown mode. So I said to the parents, listen, we've got a big backyard, we've got the pool, we've got everything at home. Let's go and do a barbecue at home. So we all went with all these parents. We all started, hanging out. We had such a great time. All the kids were more comfortable at home. And we had swings and everything. So that's where I started talking to these parents. And I said, wouldn't it be nice if we had our own space?
Awesome.
It was a crazy idea, and everyone was like, yes,
Yeah,
wouldn't
good
that be
idea.
nice? Wouldn't that be nice? It was a very, very first time, 2021,
Mhm.
in July.
Yeah.
That's when we had that date in the backyard, and it was the same day in the evening. I said to my wife, I'm gonna set something up
Wow.
for my son and his friends and his group and his community. So this is where the idea came from. And my wife thought I was crazy,
Mhm.
but she understood.
Yes.
She understood why, because she saw the challenges that we were going through, you know, being looked at, people looking at us because our kids were playing a certain way.
Mhm.
That very short amount of time that we spent over there, we got the looks of parents because our kids were our kids were flapping,
Yeah.
you know, our kids were just the normal traits.
Yes.
The looks that we got on that day, we can never forget that.
Mm.
And this is why I said to my wife and our friends, we're never going back to that place.
Yeah.
You know, maybe another time we'll try it again.
Mm.
But yeah, so that's where the idea was born. We registered the company on the same day.
Wow.
And I said to my wife, this is going to take a little bit of time. We started looking for funding to help us set it all up.
Yep.
We tried to get some support, and fortunately, nobody wanted to help us because they thought it was a
Crazy idea.
crazy
Yeah.
idea and it can never be done.
Yes.
And we're very fortunate with my wife. We have a couple of other businesses that were able to fund this project.
Awesome.
And yeah, so that's how all this came about. The idea, where the idea was born, and 2021. By the time it was the end of November, December, we already secured the venue.
Yeah.
And January, February, we'd already got the venue, signed the lease. So February, March, April, we already start building in
That's quick.
2022.
2022. Wow.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
An idea that's manifested into reality, and you guys are absolutely flying now, aren't you? Because I hear that you're setting up Spectroom out of Auckland. Is that correct? Or you're looking to? You're looking to.
That is the plan. That is the plan at the moment. We originally, the plan was Auckland first, and then Wellington, and then Christchurch.
Wow.
So we are now in the process of Wellington, but we've recently became a trust a couple of weeks ago.
Wow. That's congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Because
So
I know how hard that is to set up.
yeah, so these are the things that we had to, you know, we had to put in place because I want to expand.
Yes.
The whole plan for this is to expand not just to other city, but to other part of Auckland.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that is the plan. That's in the pipeline now. We've got a team already in Wellington. We're just now trying to find the best location, best spot in Wellington for us to set up. Because it needs to be an area where we had to take into consideration parking, and you know, it needs to be accessible for families, and it needs to be sort of central where families can all travel to visit the location. And we've had a lot of people crying from Wellington and Christchurch for it, and we even have people willing to volunteer. We have people that we have families that travels from Wellington and Christchurch on a regular basis to visit Spectrum.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I've got to ask this, Mac, because if I don't ask it, it's going to go over my head. But from what you're saying and what you've just shared, and what I've heard from Bryan, do you think that schools could also come to you to get an idea on how to set up their spaces because at the moment there is a growing number of students who are coming through our system, both Pacific and non-Pacific, you know, a growing number of children that are being diagnosed with autism.
Yeah.
Is there any way that's
we're already doing that right now.
Wow.
So we have all our special schools visit Spectrum. So we could have between 1 and 4 schools during the week.
That is so awesome.
So next week we have 4 schools that are booked out Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday for the morning session from 10 to 12.
Great.
Is that only in Auckland, Mac? Or
that's only in Auckland. That's only in Auckland at the moment. But there is that plan of us building another one in Manukau, another one in North Shore to cover those areas. So Manukau can cover further south and cover East Auckland. And then the one in North Shore can cover further up, because we have a lot of families from Whangarei that travels down just to come to Mount Albert for the day.
Because you're in a trust, funding wouldn't be an issue if you were, let's say that schools ask you to come out and might be a school in Christchurch, because this podcast is going out to Aotearoa across the motu, and they'll be watching this and they'll be saying, oh my gosh, we've got to get in contact with Mac. We've got to get in contact with Speaker. We want to set up a sensory room.
Absolutely.
Would it be possible?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've been we're in the process of setting up another school right now. We started off last week, and we've been building different schools. So we have Shelley Park out in Cockle Bay, out east. We set up their sensory room a couple of months ago.
Okay.
So we've been building sensory rooms in different schools, not just special schools, but Shelley Park is the first primary school mainstream to ever have one.
That is awesome.
And
that
now
is good.
I think other schools around the area are planning to follow suit as well. So they're planning to build their sensory room because they've seen the need for it. And because a lot of our children are starting to pop up in every school now.
Yes.
And the greatest thing about that is that a lot of these schools are becoming a lot more inclusive. You know, and starting to cater more for our children, but not just for autistic kids, but all disability. It's giving our kids and children with disability a chance to thrive, but also for them to be able to have some sort of normality, because they've already been segregated. They're already being treated differently.
Absolutely.
And a lot of that happens at schools. That schools going out of their way to plan and to set up these rooms it's another step to the right direction.
Absolutely. Do you think we'll get there?
Yeah, we will slowly get. I know we've got a long way to go. We still have a lot, a lot of work to do. As a community, as a society, as
definitely,
as a whole. But I think us doing our bit is another step closer to becoming more inclusive, schools becoming more inclusive, and just getting the word out there and becoming more acceptable to the whole, to having our children at schools. So.
Ben, so what you're talking about is that's the whole reason that I met Mac, because one of our schools wanted to set up a sensory space. And so we went over to Spectroom to have a look at their space. And then, yes, just yesterday, Mac came over to the school and had a look at the sensory space. But what I love about what you said, Mac, is that you don't want to just have a room and then just chuck a whole bunch of sensory stuff in there. He said that he needed to come to the school, talk to the leadership and ask about who's going to use this room and make it purpose built for the students, rather than just chucking a bunch of stuff into a room. That's not the purpose. That's not the
I think what we've learned, because for us this isn't just about money making, because it doesn't make any money for us.
Absolutely.
When you work hard throughout your life to build yourself up, sometimes you'll get stuck somewhere, and you get distracted from a lot of things happening. But when you get into that stage of life where you have a purpose, this is a purpose for us. So there's a lot of, this isn't just work for us, there's a lot of passion that we put into our work.
Yes.
That's right.
And it speaks volume, it speaks for itself, because we're
Absolutely.
not just there, just like you said, we're not going to just come and offer you, as a business, when you become a salesperson for a business, they're just going to try and milk as much as they can, throw a lot of, it's pointless. For me and my wife, it's about going in there, learning about the children that's going to actually use the space, and then we're going to say, okay, you're not going to need much. This is what you're going to need, the stuff that actually works for the child that's going to be using the space. So that's what it all comes down to. So then we cater for that child or for those kids. Shelley Park has a decent sized room, and they only have 6 kids in their whole school. The whole school, they only have 6 kids. But since they've opened, those kids have thrived. Because we didn't just set up a room, we also set up emergency packs. That if the teachers is struggling a little bit, or the child is struggling a little bit in the classroom, those emergency packs can then be taken to the room just for the child, have a moment to themselves, utilize those equipments and materials that's in the pack bag just to help the child during that period of time. And then once the child is back to his normal self, and then the packs gets removed again. So those are amazing. That we custom made every single space based on the need of the child that's using the space. Because also one thing is that we always tell the schools to be very open-minded about the space, is that this child's going to grow up, is going to go out of the school. There's another child that's going to come in that's going to utilize the space.
That's right.
So it's not just for building it just for one child's needs, it's for the whole school. And not just for our neurodiverse kids, it'll also cater for a lot of other children that will need the space. And this is where my wife's pitch to Shelley Park was, Shelley Park were keen to build a school, but they could only afford half of the funding. So my wife said to the school, pitch it to the parents of the children that's going to be using the space. They heard my wife's pitch and they said, we'll pay for the other half of the room.
Wow.
Well, that's,
and the parents had no problem with it. And the schools were like, why didn't we think of that? But it's
because they were waiting for you, Mac. They were waiting for you and your wife.
So the key is to have rich parents. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I think, as you guys know, as parents, you'll do anything for your child.
That's right.
Because you don't want them, again, you don't want them to be pushed to the corner. You want them to have the same chances as all the other children. Yes, they have additional challenges, they have additional needs, but it doesn't mean that they don't deserve to be there. So that's why creating these rooms where they can actually go into when they go through their sensory overloads, and it caters for their needs, but also in the same time, what we mentioned to the school is that if it means that all these 6 kids are going to be spending more time there, having a teacher that's going to be dedicated to be with them there, you can still do educational stuff in that room where they're most calm and they're also safe, but also a space where they can actually communicate through play. Through play is one of the best ways for us to communicate with our kids and to get more, even if they're nonverbal. Even if they're nonverbal, there's a way to communicate with them. So
it's amazing. That's really amazing what you're doing up there. And I guess I know Brian's meant to ask this question, but it actually flows on to what so up to this point, you've actually had a lot of consultation, you've spoken to teachers. What are the most important things that teachers should know when dealing with neurodiverse students, in particular autism?
I think, and we've noticed a lot of lack of understanding. There's a big gap there, and to close that gap, I think because a lot of our teachers, older teachers and younger teachers, they're so set and used to their trainings. And we know that most of the trainings that they go through, or, you know, wherever they've done their trainings, it's just the basic, they go through a lot of the main basic stuff on how to educate kids. There's no part of that training where it says that you also got to educate the neurodiverse kids or kids with disability. And I know that that's a challenge for a lot of our teachers, because some of our teachers are so set in those ways, they just want to focus on educating those kids.
Yeah.
There's not much room left aside to still able to help out, because they find it too challenging. They find it too complicated, or they find it a bit too much on their shoulders to educate the kids. And then they still got to educate our kids.
Yeah.
You know,
sometimes I see what you mean, because sometimes our role as resource teachers of learning and behavior, part of our job is actually trying to bridge that gap to get teachers to understand that, you know, you've got someone different in your room.
And we deal with it. We deal with it all the time. My wife deals with it all the time with her work. She gets involved with a lot of parents that call through Autism New Zealand that their child's been kicked out of school, or the school does not want to deal with the child because he's aggressive, or because the child does not want to listen, or, you know, just all sorts of whatever, you know, that comes. And we hear that, we get a lot of that here at Spectrum as well. And so my thing will be for our teachers, and I understand that they're paid and they're trained to do just their main training in terms of what they're trained for, teaching our kids. But I guess for our children, our neurodiverse children, is have a little bit of understanding of the child's needs. You know, be open-minded about what it is that each individual child, because that's one thing that people need to understand. Every child is unique in their own ways. And they may have different ways of understanding and being able to learn things. But our teachers just need to have that little bit of an empathy and a little bit of an understanding, give themselves a little bit of a room just to learn a little bit more about the child's needs, because every child is different and their needs are different. You know, that's the unique thing about our children, is they all have their own, we call them superpowers. Because every child learns a different way. Every child understands a different way. But if they're willing to go down to the child's level and trying to understand a little bit better, they will get more out of that child than the neurotypical kids that they deal with.
That's
totally
about knowing your learner, isn't it?
That's you could have a 3-year-old that will do more than a 7-year-old that's neurotypical, that's already in a normal mainstream class and struggles. I'm talking about a neurotypical child. And a 3-year-old will thrive better and thrive more, and will do better and do more, and can do more when you understand that child's needs, because they're so advanced in their way of learning sometimes that it blows your mind. For my son, by the time he was 3-4-year-old, he could count from 1 to 100 and backwards in one go. I asked my niece that was 10. She had no idea what the shapes were. Hectagon, hexagon, and my son was calling it out as in a song. Even shapes that I never knew existed. But my son knew about it. Every planet, my son knew about it, you know. And he was 3 to 4 years old, and he knew all that. You know, but he still has his struggles of focusing. You know, he won't sit down still to do an activity. You know, but you give him a puzzle to sort out, he'll smash it out in no go. You know,
you're amazing. I've always thought that kids who are neurodivergent, you know, kids who are autistic, they have a gift. And it's up to us to try and find what that gift is, tap into it, and go with it. You know, encourage it, celebrate it. I think, and now I'm going to come into a Pacific perspective, because Mac, you're Pacific, you're Samoan, you were brought up in Samoa. How can, and because we're coming from an Atiabi perspective, and a lot of Atiabi may have come across a situation where they know that there's something there with the child they're working with, They want to engage with the family and explain to them that, hey, look, there is something there, but we need you to come on board and have a think. And we're talking about a Pacific family who doesn't really know much about neurodiversity.
Yeah.
And I've come across so many families like that in my role, because I work in Otara Papatoetoe. You see them all the time.
Yeah.
And it's every time I mention, hey, look, would you be able to discuss about, let's say, Sione? And because I find something, I've found something when I was working in my casework that may reflect that we may need to have a talk. And immediately they shut off. They shut off because they already know that there's something there.
They don't want to know.
But they don't want to know.
Yeah.
It's pride.
That's the challenge, eh? How do you get around that? Because you were able to turn yourself around and say, look, okay, my wife has said, it was hard for you to chew on about what she shared, but something told you, something made you flip a switch and say, my wife is right, you know?
Yeah.
How do we get that message to our Pacific families out there?
It's very common. We deal with a lot of that here at Spectroom. And to be honest, it's not just Pacifica.
Yeah.
Because it all comes down to culture.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to. And a lot of pride.
Yeah.
A lot of pride. And this is where my wife and I work as a team, because my wife being a Latina, there's not much filter. Because she speaks her mind on focusing on the child's needs.
Yeah.
I'm more of the finesse person that I gotta find the middle point when it comes to Pacifica families, because as you see, you know, there's a lot of, you know, they switch off.
Yeah.
I've dealt with a lot of Samoan families that comes in here and starts off with just the mom. And sometimes it's really hard for the dad to engage, because we all know that as a dad, it's hard, because it's not something that it's not something that you want to hear, you know. But we're trying to shift the focus on the support for the child that needs it, not so much of our pride, not ourselves.
Yeah.
The focus needs to be on the child.
Yes.
So if we can find that middle point where we can actually tackle who will be the best person for us out of those parents to talk to, that's the person that we tackle first. Because it's more of understanding, okay, your child there are some challenges there. In order to get your boy the best support, you need to be on that boat. You need to engage. And how we usually sell it is that the longer you wait, as your son grows, things are going to be a lot more challenging. Now is the best time to tackle those.
Absolutely.
Whatever issues that you're going through, whatever challenge that you think you can see now, it'll get worse if you don't get the help and support now.
Totally.
So that's how my wife and I, we tackle that. And yes, there's a lot of culture in it that can be a barrier, can also be something that can make things a little bit more challenging for us to engage with parents to understand that better. But we're always trying to make sure that parents understand that the focus is always on the child, always on the child. You know, so schools have reached out to us, different organizations, a lot of schools have reached out to us about trying to help the child, because obviously they see more at school during kindy or during schools than what the parents are saying about the child at home, because they don't want to mention it. They don't want to talk about it, because it's a lot of our pride.
Absolutely.
But my wife always tells these parents that pride will set your child back if you don't do this now. So what we usually say is embrace the journey. It's beautiful. Embrace it. There's nothing wrong with your child. Your child's not broken. There's nothing to be fixed.
Different.
You know, because we've had those conversations where parents have come in here because I just want to fix my son.
Yeah.
How upsetting that is. We always tell the parents, and I said, listen, why don't you sit down and have a coffee and let the child play? because I want you to see something. I want you to see something. If you're in here for the first time, I want you to see for yourself something that you've never seen before. I want you to let your child go, let him explore.
Yes.
I want you to tell me if there's any difference between what he does at home and what he does here. We're putting him in a space where everything in this room cater for his sensory needs.
Yes.
Nice.
And then you're going to see a different child. And then all of a sudden, a word pops up. A word pops up. And the mom just starts crying. And I said, what's wrong? She gets so emotional. And she said, I've never heard my child say any words. And I said, why do you think that is? He's in a happy place. When his mind is in a happy place, that's when you see a different child.
Nice.
But engaging to get down to their level and get more out of him by engaging in his level, instead of you standing over him and trying to get him to do things. Oh, look at this. Come and do this. You're now going to go into his level, and everything is going to be child-led. You're going to follow his lead instead of you trying to get him to do things that you want him to do. It's not going to work.
Yeah.
In here, everything is led by the child.
Yeah.
And by him doing that in his happy place, this is where words are going to start coming out. They're going to start doing things that you've never seen them do before. Why? Because they're in a happy place. So that's basically, for us, that's our approach on how to do things. And trust me, we deal with a lot of that. A lot of our aingas that comes in here with that whole challenge. And we've had moms that have been visiting here for a long time and still no dad. Still, husband still decide, or the husband will come, but then just sits in the car. Because whether they choose to accept it or not, that's totally understandable. That is fine. But we always encourage families, embrace the journey. Do it for him or do it for her.
I love that. I love that. Embrace the journey.
Embrace the journey. And I've said this multiple times in every interview that I've done. I've always encouraged the family. Trust me, it's beautiful. There's nothing, the child that you know, the child that you've loved all these years, it's still the same child. But you need to embrace it more on their level.
Yeah.
You need to embrace it more on their level so you can have a better understanding, and your child can actually have that one person or the two people that he loves the most is the parents. Because this is something that we've learned over the years. Our children, they feel and sense every single mood you're in.
Yeah.
They feel it. So whether in a bad mood or a good mood, they know. They know.
Do you have any like other practical advice for parents who have just found out that their child has autism? So like what should they do? Like you said, obviously they should visit Spectroom, but and to get in contact with an expert to guide them. But what are some other things that they might consider?
I think because as I mentioned before, this whole thing is a process. And we always encourage families, as soon as you get that diagnosis, take your time.
Yes.
Because it can throw you off.
Yeah.
Big time. And this is where a lot of our parents, a lot of our families, they go down the drain, or they fall through the cracks. Because when they get overwhelmed with what they've just been hit with, they shut down. And it's very common. It happens all the time. And we always tell families, okay, how long ago? Oh, just last week. Do me a favor. Just enjoy your time with your son. Give yourself some time, because there's a grieving process that goes through this. And if you try to bypass that grieving process, it'll kick in later on. And it might hit you harder than you think. But embrace that time. Enjoy the time that you just got, because you've got to learn more about your child more. And once you've had that time to grieve, we call it the grieving period. Once you've had that grieving period, please reach out, get in touch, get the help and support. Here at Spectrum, my wife will sit down with you and go through a list of things. Now, this is one of the challenging things about the system, and I'm pretty sure you guys know about it.
Yeah.
There's no directory. There's no blanket where it covers all the services and what's out there, what's available, what they're entitled to, what they're eligible for. There's not. You call the ministry for one question, they give you one answer.
Mm.
You go for a pediatrician or psychologist diagnosis, they only give you that one answer. Oh, yes, he's definitely autistic. But they're not going to tell you, okay, now you need to do this, you need to call this, you need to reach out to these people. They don't. So there's no blanket that really covers all the help and supports for a lot of families.
Yes.
And when parents reach out to a lot of different organizations like the ministry, they get overwhelmed with too much information that are not even clear enough for our families.
Yes.
There needs to be a directory, which is what we do here, which is what we call the info hub.
Yeah.
We call this info hub, and it's free for families.
Awesome.
You know, it's information that's already public knowledge, but they're not being shared. They're not being passed down. And it's just a lot of information that's sometimes not necessary.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, because our parents, when there's too much, when they get given too much information, they either shut down or just don't want to bother doing it because there's a lot to deal with. Even filling in those referrals, filling in those forms, it's a lot for some of our parents and a lot of our solo parents. And that's a lot to deal with. So I guess the encouragement for and the advice for a lot of our families that are just starting on the journey, take some time to process it because it's a lot to process. And once you're ready, reach out to your local info or Autism New Zealand, Altogether Autism, Disability Connect, where you get the right information.
Right.
Reach out to the ministry, get the help and support that you need. Reach out to us. We'll be more than happy to direct you to the right people, the right funding, because this is one of the challenging things about a lot of our families. We have families that have been on the journey for 6 years, had no idea what Taikura Trust was. They had no idea that they were eligible to get some sort of funding. They had no idea that they were eligible for parking permits, disability parking permit. Had no idea.
Wow.
You know, these are all the things that it's meant to be public knowledge. It's meant to be available for our families. As soon as they get a diagnosis, it's not all about being disabled. It's about safety when it comes to the parking permit.
Yeah.
You're entitled to it because when we go shopping, when the mom or the dad on their own with 2 kids out shopping, our kids are runners.
Yeah.
The minute that seatbelt comes off, they take off. And the last thing you want is you parking all the way down to South Africa. And then you gotta walk all the way to the mall or the entrance. By the time that happens, the child's already had enough.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, so having a disability parking permit is not just about being disabled. It's not just about mobility. It's about safety.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of our parents had no idea that they can actually apply for it. So what we do is we have the forms printed, we have it ready. As soon as the parents said, oh, I had no idea. I was like, here's the form, fill it out, take it to your GP, get them to sign off it, send it in, $50, 5 years. Simple as that.
Awesome.
You know, so those are the things that we encourage. And, you know, for our families that are just being diagnosed, please, you know, don't feel like I know sometimes you can feel like the whole world is just tumbling down. It's normal to feel like that. It is normal. But to know that you're going to wake up the next day, you're going to embrace your child. Your child has not changed. They will never change. But to be there for them as they continue to grow, to be there, to enjoy that journey with them is really, really important because they rely on you. So,
Mac, what you've shared is an amazing amount of wisdom and knowledge. It is gold. And I'm hoping that the RTRB who watch this, and there'll be a lot of them, and don't be surprised, Mac, if you're going to get phone calls and emails or they find your Facebook page.
I hope you do.
I hope you do, but I'm thinking it. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, what he's sharing is gold. They are going to be contacting you.
Can I just
much.
refer them to you guys first?
Refer them to Ben.
Yeah. So the key message is that celebrate, you know, when there is a diagnosis, yes, take, you know, take your time, understand what's happened, but parents need to be proactive and get the ball rolling once they know that that diagnosis comes through, because then you can access the supports that they need to access.
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
absolutely.
Okay.
And it's a beautiful journey to be in.
Yeah.
That's
It is a
one thing
beautiful
that
journey.
parents really, really need to embrace it. It's a beautiful journey.
Yeah.
And we find that a lot of our parents had started off as very confused, about the
Yes.
journey.
Yes, of
Yeah.
course.
And the minute they engage more, they trust more in the process, and they become very, very engaged with their children and learning from them. They're more happier now.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
one of the other things that I always tell this to a lot of our parents that have more than one child. Don't forget that you don't want to focus all the energy on the one child. You also have
Right.
another two.
Yes.
That's right.
So having that balance is really, really important, because your other two are going to feel left out because you focus all your energy on the one child.
That's right.
It's keeping them together. It's making them all feel inclusive and all included in the activity that the family is doing. So what we do here at Spectrum is that the parents don't just bring the autistic child, they bring the siblings. And I always tell the siblings, go and have fun. Go and have fun around your brother, or go and have fun around your sister, because I want them to see that you're also here to have fun in his place. This is his place. Just be mindful of the other kids around. But when you play, you have to understand your way of playing. Your way of playing needs to be around his way of playing. And sometimes our kids can be rough.
Yes.
And some of our kids enjoys playing rough. But it's just having that mindset of, I don't want the kids to be left out because, now I want to focus on my autistic boy because the other two, they can go, because that's great. But then we've dealt with a lot of cases where a lot of our families with more than one child, they fall through the cracks. And a lot of challenges things can complicate family dynamics, because our parents tend to focus more energy on the one child, and then they forget about the other two. So we always encourage them, bring them along, even if they come and sit here in the reception area. If they want to be on their phone, I'll give them the Wi-Fi, free Wi-Fi here. Let them enjoy, but they're also in the same space.
Right.
Yeah.
They're in the same space. It's a family outing.
So
Bring
good.
some snacks, bring takeaways, whatever. Sit here, enjoy the free Wi-Fi. And once they finish, if they don't want to eat, they just want to go and lie down in the sensory room.
Yeah.
They can all go in there as a family and lie down in there while the one child is actually having a sensory time.
Fantastic.
But the siblings are also around, so it becomes a family outing.
Yes.
That's awesome.
You know,
That is so awesome.
it's really important.
Mac, you've already told me the story, but I want Ben to hear this story. Can you just tell us a little bit about the sensory space at Eden Park?
Sure. So 2022, 2023, last year, we had FIFA. The soccer, the World Cup, Women's World Cup.
Women's World Cup, yeah.
January last year, we had FIFA reached out from Australia. They must have done a search about sensory spaces, and we're the only one that popped up.
Wow.
But they reached out to us early Jan last year, and they wanted to do a collaboration, and I invited them. So they flew in from Australia, and they came down and saw the space, and they fell in love with it. But of course, they couldn't build a whole space like this at Eden Park. So they wanted to focus more on what would really help. So my wife said, you don't need to have all this at Spectrum. You need a small sensory room, a space where people can regulate, because they wanted to focus on adults.
Right.
But a space where you can cater for adults and kids. So by February last year, we had already locked in the contract with FIFA, with the agreement that we were going to build a space at Eden Park. So it took us a week. We had everything pre-made offside, and then a week to set everything up at Eden Park. So we had the space ready, and they did a massive revealing for the space at Eden Park. We had no idea. We thought it was just space, But we also didn't know that there might have been a competition going on between, because there were multiple stadiums used for the FIFA World Cup. So
That's right.
I think there were 3 or 4 stadiums here in New Zealand and more in Australia. because it was New Zealand and Australia FIFA.
Mhm.
And we won that room. So we won the space out of
Wow.
stadiums, because we actually built a proper space.
Yeah.
We had no idea, but we were told about it. We did the revealing, and it made the news. And yeah, so it was really, really good. And
That's awesome.
since FIFA, because when FIFA opened, they did the big promotion of the space.
Mhm.
After FIFA, the CEO of Eden Park reached out and said, listen, instead of dismantling the room, we would like to keep the room permanent.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So obviously they saw the need,
Yeah.
but they also wanted to sit down with us, and they wanted to talk. They found out that my wife had a background of marketing.
Mhm.
So they said, how would you market this? How would you promote the space? So my wife said, easy. And all your tickets for all your events and games, every time you pop in there to purchase the tickets for whatever event you got going on, there needs to be a pop-up that says Sensory Space available. We are now
Wow.
inclusive. We are now inclusive.
Wow.
Cool.
Now we have not just adults that goes to use the space, but it's given them more of an idea. The promotion was all going out. It was all in the news, the Herald, everything, that Eden Park have become inclusive, that they've built a sensory room. So that's how they market it now, so that not just adults that attend games and concerts and stuff, but it's become a family-orientated space where families can now go and watch a game that they've never been able to do before. Families can now get in there, and the kids can go and use the sensory space if they need it, when they need it. And they can
That is
spend 15, 20
amazing.
minutes,
So
15,
good.
20 minutes in there, and then they're ready to go back to the stadium. If
That
they
is
need it
just
again,
amazing.
they go
Yeah.
back in. So
Yeah.
that space at Eden Park also has those packs where parents can go in there, sign off, and then packs will be given to it. So inside those packs, it's got the earmuffs and everything, all the sensory toys that the child can actually play with while they're sitting in the grandstand. And those packs will need to be returned to the space. So we have two staff. So the space is there, we manage it as well. Every game. So tomorrow you got that Blues draw game, Fiji.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Go the
So
Blues.
we
Yeah.
So we manage the space, every event, every game, every concert. The
Wow.
pink. So one of the biggest things that came out of that was the promoters, or the team that brings all the big acts to Eden Park or to New Zealand. They bought Pink. They came and visited the room during the Pink concert, and they were blown away. And then they said, if this is going to be available, we are going to want to bring all our acts to Eden Park.
That is amazing.
Awesome.
So that's so basically that's how we got that space there. And
So you're the only organization that's actually got a sensory room at a stadium, and I'm talking worldwide.
pretty much.
Wow.
Wow. Okay, I'm blown away. I am blown away because
I knew you'd
you're
like that
talking
story,
about
Ben.
well, I'm blown away because you're talking about an idea that you and your wife had in 2021.
2021.
It's
And
only
it's
3 years ago.
3 years. Well, not even 3 years yet.
No.
And you've done something globally amazing.
Yeah.
That any RTLB watching this, follow the Facebook page, Google Spectroom.
Yeah.
Get all the information from there. If you want to make contact, Mac Fuiava is the one that you need to speak to. And the wife. Amazing.
That's amazing. Yeah.
So it's been a blessing. This has been a blessing for us. It's very humbling experience to be able to reach so many people. I know the FIFA before last year in Dubai, they set up a room, but it wasn't a proper room. It's just they would just put some materials in the room.
Yeah.
So since the last time you came in, Brian, I think it was last week. So we now have Spark Arena that now reached out to us. They want to look at the room.
Awesome.
So Spark Arena, they have a partition space in their corridor. but it's still loud because it's only in the corridor. It's not an
Yeah.
actual room. So the girl from so how we got in contact with them was they reached out to Altogether Autism,
Yes.
and Altogether Autism passed the contact of the girl to Parent, which is another organization that looks after all our families with disabilities. And Brandon from Parent forwarded the email to us last week, and they said this is the best person you talk to. So the girl reached out to us and asked about what she was thinking. Had no idea that we set up the room at Eden Park.
Yeah.
So I said to her, let me give you an advice.
Yeah.
I will suggest you go and have a look at Eden Park. I'll get you in touch with Kelly from Eden Park.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Go and have a look in there and you tell me what your thoughts are. She got in contact with us the day after she visited there, and she said, wow, I was not expecting that. And I said, well, now what we need to do is now I need to come and visit Spark Arena, and then what we need is an actual room, not a corridor, because if the concert is really loud,
Yes.
you can still hear it because you're in the corridor.
Yes.
So if you want to build something similar, we're gonna need a space.
Right.
If you really want to go being inclusive and all, you just need to let me know. So she's keen. They're now looking at finding the right space for Spark Arena. And also last week we finalized things with Eden Park. The space that we have at Eden Park is a 4 by 5.8 space.
Yeah.
Now Eden Park wants to build a bigger one.
Wow.
3 times bigger than the room they have.
Awesome.
Mac, you
So
and your
good.
missus are going to be so busy.
We're already busy
if you're
now.
not busy now, if you're not busy now, you're going to be even busier now. But
Are you looking for a job, Ben? No, Mac, that's fantastic.
No.
I love how you can do Spark Arena and Eden Park, but you'll also come down and help with some of our schools. It's just amazing. But so just thinking about our schools, are there any like resources or readings or books that you could recommend for teachers to upskill themselves?
Or even organizations that
I think
tap into.
I'm not sure about that, which is something that my wife is currently working on as well.
Yeah.
So my wife is stepping away from Autism New Zealand at the end of this month because she wants to focus on Spectrum.
Yeah, because you're busy.
Yeah. My wife has done an offer to Starship. So my wife's going to be looking after Starship as well.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Offering our times to, so we've got quite a few staff that works here. We've got a really big selection of girls that my wife had trained on what to do and how to look after our kids during our school holiday programs, during our special events, because we do a lot of community events now.
Yeah.
We've got the Matariki coming up. We're setting up a pop-up. So we're doing a lot of pop-ups for council events as well, because I do a lot of stuff with council. So a lot of pop-ups with council, schools that runs all their family days. So we do pop-ups over there as well. So the main thing for us is that we've got all these big stuff that we're building, but we're very, very community focused.
Yes.
We're all about community. Hence why I wanted to start the trust, because I wanted these doors to continue to open so that our families can have access to it.
That's
So
awesome.
in terms of materials and stuff like that, it's something that my wife is working on. I'm not sure about materials, but I think if you were to have books and stuff like that to read for teachers, it'll probably be best to be in contact with Disability Connect, Altogether Autism, and Autism New Zealand. They've got booklets and stuff like that for staff to have a better understanding.
Yep.
Yep.
And I think there's a girl that wrote a book as well. It's very popular. I Am Autistic. That's another good book as well for a lot of teachers to have a better understanding, because one thing is you're dealing with young kids, but then you also got to deal with teenagers that are also autistic, and then you got to deal with adults. We deal with all.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know, yes, we have our autistic kids that access the space because we cater for 10 years and under.
Yeah.
But we also have autistic teenagers,
Mhm.
which my wife sometimes runs special sessions for.
Mhm.
And then we deal with autistic adults, which she deals with them at work, and now we
Mm.
deal with them at Eden Park.
Mm.
So it's having that understanding of the needs, what's required, and how we deal with it. Because autistic adults are a different ball game. The challenges there are different, and some of the help that's required is completely different from what we deal with on the, with our children. So
Mm.
it's really important to have a better understanding on the different levels of autism that you're dealing with. Dealing
Yes.
with
Yep.
babies, dealing with kids, and then you're gonna deal with teenagers, you're gonna deal with young adults, but
Yep.
then you're gonna deal with adults, which
Yes.
it's a different kettle of fish,
Yes.
totally different,
Yeah.
So yeah, and then everything is different. You got to deal with autistic adults, but then you also got to deal with ADHD and autistic adults, because when you have that mixture, it comes with its own challenges as well. So really, really important to have that open mindset,
That's right.
be able to cater
Mm.
for
And
everyone's different needs as well.
Absolutely.
I'm just thinking, treat every challenge as a new journey,
Pretty much,
because that's what you're
those
going
are
through.
I think one of the biggest things that I will say though, for a lot of our new teachers that are just starting on that journey,
Yep.
just be open-minded, have a
Mm.
good understanding,
Mm.
and don't panic. It's a beautiful journey to be part of as well, because we have teacher aides that
Yep.
are starting to learn the journey.
Yep.
And of course, everyone's got their own set of ideas. When they start doing something or start on a different journey, they have different ideas on what they want to do.
Yep.
Learn, understand, and then just be involved in that journey.
Yep. And if you're worried, you can always refer to RTLB Ben from Cluster 10. Mac, we could talk to you all day, but I guess we let's have some fun.
Yeah.
Let's do some personal stuff. Ben, you want to ask your first question?
Okay, first question. This is totally, we're going to move away from Spectrum and we're going to focus on you more. And these are going to be quick fire questions. So the first one is, who is someone that inspires you?
Me?
Yeah.
My wife.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was just thinking, I bet he's going to say his wife, but
Sounds like it,
understandable.
yeah.
Absolutely understandable. She's
My
amazing.
wife. She's I think, to be quite honest, and I'm not saying this in any way to insult anybody. If I was married to a different culture, I probably would not be able to have the strength to go through this journey. I don't know, because I've never been married to another different person. But, I'm inspired by her every day, because the courage and the strength that she has. Yes, we're not perfect. This is something that people need to understand. We're not perfect. We don't have all the answers.
Yeah.
My wife and I, we're not perfect. We don't have all the answers. We're not trained professionals.
Yeah.
But what we have is a raw understanding of the journey that we live with my son every day. And the journey that we share is from my son. This is where that whole journey comes in, because it's a shared journey that we started with our boy that we know it's gonna be for a long time.
Nice.
And my wife and I jokes about it sometimes. And when do you think my son, when he grows up, becomes an adult, he'll probably be, ashamed of us being around all the time. And I said, when we reach that, then we'll talk about it.
Yeah. Maybe you can show him this video.
Yeah.
He'll understand.
Don't worry, a lot of kids are ashamed of their appearance. Mac, what's one like a whakatauki or alanga upu or a quote that motivates you?
Motivates me. In Samoan or English?
No, you go for
In
it.
Samoan. You go for it.
Alanga upu.
Mm.
I don't know if I have one in Samoan, but the one word, I mentioned it before during our talk, embrace.
Nice.
That's the one word that I will call this. That for me, it inspires me every time, because every time I wake up in the morning, I look at my son. I see his smile every day. I see how happy he is. That makes me want to do more. So I embrace him every morning. I kiss my son, have a good day. And then that's it for me. I get on the wagon and I start my day, and I get on the grind.
Yeah,
every day.
that is
He's
awesome.
my wife and my son are both my inspiration,
oh, that's
because
so
it
nice.
makes me wanna do more.
Oh, that's so good.
Pina, you taking notes?
Yeah, well, I don't need to. I can watch the video now.
Okay, very good, very good.
Okay, next one. Two more questions. The advice you would give to your younger self before all of this happened, before everything, before your wife, what would be the advice that you would give to your younger self?
I will give my younger self,
A younger Mac.
a younger Mac. Take the time to understand, and there's always somebody else that has it worse than you.
Yes. Yeah.
Because, when you're young, you have all these plans, you make all these plans, and you always want to do something better or something different. You want to be different from everybody, but you're always thinking about just yourself. Having that selfish me as a person, and it's normal for anybody. You have that whole thing of just always thinking about yourself.
Yes.
But when you become part of this journey, or any journey, or anything that will have setbacks, or that will have challenges in the life of people that matters to you more, then you start to look at things differently. You start to look at life differently. What would I do when I was young? Different from what I do now.
Yeah.
And I would tell myself, have some empathy.
Yeah.
Think of life as there's always somebody that has it worse than you. Because there is somebody that has it worse than you.
Absolutely.
So don't take life for granted, and embrace it, and take your blessings as they come.
Yep.
And be humble about it. I think that's one of the biggest things that we've learned along the way.
Yeah.
Is that not everything is about money.
Yes.
Yeah.
And life isn't about money. You can earn as much as you want, or make as much as you want, but that might not give you the happiness that you need in life.
Yes.
So embrace that, and I would pretty much tell myself to be empathetic. Have the empathy, and have show a little bit of love, to other people.
That's right.
When you're younger, you tend to do a lot of things, and you always think, oh, I don't care about that.
Yes.
It doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
But when you're directly involved in something, in this kind of journey, it gives you a different perspective in life.
Definitely.
And that's why I mentioned to you guys before, when you work hard towards something in a career, you build yourself up, you climb that mountain, and sometimes you get stuck. But when you're given a second chance and a purpose in life, it fills your cup.
Yeah.
It really does. It really does. And you go home every night with a joy that what we do here, that's what gives me, is that joy of knowing that you put a smile on that child's face. You've made a parent happy. This is one of the things we do here at Spectroom. Is such a safe space, that it's a vulnerable space, because a lot of our parents share the raw side of things from what they go through in life. They share it here, and it's a safe space. It does not leave this room, because everyone in here are on the same journey.
Yeah.
People are not going to give you the side eye over here, because who are they going to give the side eye to?
Yeah.
They all understand. They're all on the same boat. And
Mac, I know what your side hustle is going to be. You're going to be a motivational speaker. just for a side hustle, motivational speaker.
I'm not really big on motivation speakers. I'm not really big on standing in front of people. I love doing these talks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't mind, because for me, I'm not just sharing my story. I'm not just sharing my son's story, but also I'm using this as a chance to give hope to those families that are either currently just going through it,
Mhm.
just starting the journey, and about to start on that journey.
That's
I'm
awesome.
giving them, I want them to know that there is hope. There is that big light, shiny light at the end of that tunnel, that everything's going to be okay. Everything's going to be fine. And for our Pacifica people that are still going through that and still sitting on that fence, everything is going to be fine. We're not trying to change the child. You don't need to change the child. You just need to understand them better.
Mm.
And to give them that right support, for them to continue to thrive and continue to excel in their skills and everything. Give them the right support.
Right.
Put them around the right people so they can actually continue to be who they are. Because that's neurodiverse kids, you don't need to change them.
Yeah.
You don't need to change them. We just need to have them in a space where they're more comfortable,
Mhm.
a space where they can actually continue to grow.
Awesome.
Their way of growing, not our way of growing, but their way of
Lovely. I thought your advice to younger Mac would have been to find a Mexican wife, actually. But yeah, but you've done that, so that's all good. Tick. So we're just gonna play. So I've put together a wheel of questions, and then we'll all answer it. We try not to take up too much of your time, Mac, because we know you're.
We've gone
listen,
overtime, man. It was
So
only
Ben,
meant to be
stop talking.
30 minutes.
I'll tell Ben to stop talking. Okay, right. So here we have a wheel of questions. So fingers crossed it comes up with a good one, and we'll just answer it quick in 30 seconds each.
Okay.
So the question is, if you could instantly become an expert in something, what would it be? Ben, start with you.
Why me?
Well, you're already an expert in lots of things, so just choose one.
Okay, if I was an expert in something, it would be to invent something that someone would really need to help them. I guess.
Okay, I like that. I like that. That's fantastic.
Yeah, I think,
It's
everyone
instantly-
needs something. If you could think of an idea and the idea pops into your head, that's what it would be. That would definitely be my gift.
Yeah, okay. Keep working at that. Okay, Mac, what have you got?
I would be of service.
Oh, nice.
That's deep.
Of service to those who need it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's awesome.
That's what it comes down to.
I guess I'll build upon what Max talked about today, and then just about being an expert in just focusing on that inclusion. So not just our autistic children, our neurodiverse children, our children of multicultural children. I just want to, everybody deserves to have a life, a fulfilling, happy life. And I just want to be an expert in that. So
okay, you've just made me the black sheep of the family, because
so Ben only thinks of himself.
My answer's too materialistic.
I think with that, I think it's something that's really important that we, I guess this is just from Spectroom, really important that sometimes we don't really use the word expert.
Okay.
Because I mean, I'm not saying to take away the word expert, but this for us over here, because a lot of people go, "Oh, you guys are the experts."
No.
We take away the word experts because we're not really experts.
Yeah,
we're just for us is we're here for service.
Yes.
As a community, part of the community, we're here to offer our services where we can and where we're allowed to be, because not everyone's going to allow our service.
Yeah.
This is where I mean about the whole thing of culture and religion. We can only allow to do certain things where we can. So it's not about forcing ourselves to, you need to do this, but it's just putting it out there so that our families, when they're comfortable and more willing to share and have the time so we can talk, then we do it. So
agreed. So it's kind of like we're on a journey. So you don't really reach expert status and then go, okay, that's enough. I don't want to learn anything else.
Well, because you're always learning.
Because that's it. We learn every day.
Yeah,
Every day
awesome.
we're learning, and we don't want to cap that as this is where I want to get to.
Yeah.
Because we want to continue to do it.
Yeah.
That's I think the magic word is continuing.
Yep.
Yeah.
So.
And for Ben, I'd suggest if you want to be rich, just buy a lotto ticket.
Let's
Here we
all
go.
buy a lotto ticket.
That's 50 million. It's 50 million. Hello.
Yeah. It's only 50 million. All right. We'll just do one more.
Yeah.
Oh, which one? Do you have any hidden talents or surprising hobbies?
Oh my gosh. Okay. Hidden talents. Holy cow. Okay.
Talent.
I don't know if you would call it a talent, but I can do the shuffle.
The shuffle.
The shuffle.
Wow.
Everybody's
Yes.
shuffling.
Well, not that shuffle, the other shuffle.
Oh, shuffling cards or what?
Can you give us a demonstration?
No,
or?
no. Oh, no.
What's this guy talking about?
Then-
Okay, yeah.
No. I can shuffle dance. I can shuffle dance.
How can you tell us how old you are without telling us how old you are? Okay, Mac. What's a hidden talent you've got?
Okay, hidden talents. Oh, I don't know about talents. My hobbies, I love driving. I used to do a little bit of racing back in the days.
Oh, wow.
So that's I love
Is that
driving.
legal or illegal?
I was gonna say, was it
Bit of both.
Okay, we won't say no more. Say no more.
Yeah.
A lot of
Yeah.
a lot of
Professional.
that. And I love shooting. So yeah,
Oh.
I love going to the range and do a bit of shooting. So
Oh, lovely.
yeah,
Oh, that makes
those are my hobbies.
that makes my one seem boring. I was just gonna say I could play the ukulele, but nothing like that. All right, we'll have to go out shooting something one day.
Let's hope not.
Not on the streets though.
Yeah.
Max, so we're just doing this little thing where our last person we interviewed asks a question for us to ask our next interviewee. So we had our last person, and she said to ask you, who are you most like, your mum or your dad, and why?
I think a bit of both. It's one of my biggest inspiration was my dad.
Mm.
There's all his hard work that he left his calling in Samoa to bring us here for a better education.
Yeah.
Because he saw the vision that we could do better in life. He was a minister in Samoa for church. And both my parents left that in Samoa. We came to New Zealand because they wanted us to thrive and wanted us to get a better life here in New Zealand. And I guess this is where a lot of that comes from in terms of always helping. My dad did a lot of that. My mom has always been a quiet person. My mom, I love my mom. She's the rock of the family. She kept our family together. She still does now. My dad passed in 2008, and my mom had carried that torch since. So,
blessings on you guys.
Yeah, both. I
blessings
would
on
say both my mom and my dad.
Lovely.
Yeah, I see myself and my dad having that determination and not having anyone get in my way. Not allowing anybody to get in my way, not allowing anything to stop me from what I want to do. I get that from my dad. And the humbling experience and everything is through my mom. So there's always someone that has it worse, someone that struggles more than you do.
Yeah.
You gotta be empathy about a lot of things. That's what I get from my mom. So
Awesome.
Fantastic. Ben?
So, Mac, do you have a question for the next person we're going to interview? And it could be any question, any question at all.
If you were given a chance to be something in life, what would that be?
Nice.
You're going.
You got a note of that, Brian?
Does that make sense?
But the trick is we have to answer that question now. So if you something in life.
I like it.
Okay, say that question again.
If you were given a chance to be something in life, what would that be?
I always wanted, and don't laugh at this, I always wanted to be a magician.
So that's why you're shuffling cards now, is it?
No, seriously. I
You wanted to
remember
make people disappear, or
No,
what?
I remember
Cut
watching
people in
David
half?
Copperfield. Remember David Copperfield? Like he made the Statue of Liberty
Okay.
disappear. And I was always enthralled about when I watched, I thought, oh, I wish I could do that. Because magic is some sort of thing that, you know, you just think about these things. You think, I wish I could do that. And being a magician was one
Bit
of
out
them.
of the hat? Is it pulling the rope?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be pulling out a
or
rabbit.
something.
I wouldn't be a rabbit.
Yeah.
Couldn't
Just a
afford
hint. Just a hint, Ben. You do not want to be like David Copperfield.
Oh, okay.
You know, you can't fit an elephant in a hat, you know?
No.
Yeah.
I can't afford my budget.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Okay.
I guess my calling was always to be a teacher or something around teaching, and yeah, so I've always wanted to do something like that. So I guess I'm living my passion. Yay!
Fantastic.
Oh, thanks,
What are you,
Bryan.
Mac? Answering your own question.
Yeah.
I think it kind of ties into what I mentioned earlier about being of service. I was raised in in a family where my dad was always very strong around youth, and we all grew up, myself alone as well, looking after the youth for many years. I always been really good with youth at risk. So my work has always been around youth. And now, working with the disability community and a lot of our autistic kids, I want to continue on this journey. And I know that we focus more on our kids under team. But my plan going forward later on is to not just working with the youth, but I want to work with the youth, our neurodiverse kids, our neurodiverse youth, our autistic youth, because it still ties in with the passion that I've always had of working with youth, our young people, because I feel that, yes, you know, how they always say they're the future, you know, our young people are our future. So I want to continue to do that, but not just any youth, because I've seen the challenge our young autistic young adults go through. Now with everything that we're doing now, with a lot of the support that we have in place for a lot of different things, our young people still falling through their gap.
Yeah.
So if I wanted to be something in life, I want to continue not just in this journey, but I want to focus more on the youth.
That's awesome.
I want
You
to
know, I want to change my answer now, because I really do.
No, sorry, we're out of time. Okay.
Oh,
okay. Okay. Well, maybe. Oh, never mind.
No. I think we should. I think we should hear that.
Mate.
I think you should hear that, and I think it's important that you know, you're given the chance to, you know, there's always, I guess that's part of these conversations, is that you know, there's no concrete answer.
No,
But there is an important answer. So whether that will be your next answer.
I think next time we won't start with Ben. I think that's the best thing. We seem to be going on a different tangent.
Oh my gosh! Yes, well, you know,
Mac, you are a very busy man. We can't take up all your time, but we appreciate your time.
You're welcome.
You are living your values. You are very humble. We had to basically ask you to tell us about all the amazing things that you're doing.
Thank you.
We've loved having a chat with you. Thank you for taking the time to talk to us. We hope that your phone is going off the hook, and you know, your email box is flooded with lots of requests across the country. We just appreciate you and all the work that you're doing. You're living your passion, and we wish you and your family
Thank you.
Mac, I think you're a typical example.
we are honored. We are honored that you would come and talk to us.
I did want to say this, Bryan, but you're a typical example of trusting in the process.
Yeah.
And following your journey.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
individuals.
Thank you both. Yeah, thank you both for your time. Thank you for having me on this as well. I really do appreciate your guys' time as well. I'm here for anyone that needs a bit of help and support where we can. But I'm also here to listen. I think that's the important part of this journey, is that sometimes our parents and our families don't want to just listen. Sometimes they just want to talk. But it's important for us to have the ears to listen to some of the things that our families are talking to, whether it's just sitting there with them to just listen. So we're here to listen, we're here to share, and we're here to offer our time to listen to anyone that needs help and support. So again, thank you
so
both.
much, Mac.
What's the best way to
No,
get
thank you.
in contact with you?
Email or my number. My phone is crazy. So, yeah,
We'll start with
best
email. Just email, so we don't have to.
yeah. Just
Yeah,
send me an
yeah,
email.
yeah.
Whether it's with info or Mac at Spectrum.nz or
And you have a Facebook page.
yeah,
You
got
have
the
a
Facebook page. Just send us a message on that,
Yes.
whether it's Instagram or Facebook. Send us a message on that, and we'll do our best to respond.
Yeah.
And for anyone that's out there listening to this, thank you for your time.
Oh, there'll be a lot of people listening to this, Mac. I trust me, there will be. And just to those RTLB that have tuned in, just check the links. We will put the links on the Facebook page. Mac Fuiava and family from Spectroom, we thank you again for joining us this morning. It's been a really good, even though it's been a long conversation, it's been a great conversation. I think there's a lot of value in this, and the RTLB will see this once they see this video.
Awesome.
Yeah.
No worries. All right.
Okay. You take care,
gentlemen.
Thank you.
I'll see you again soon.
I will definitely,
All
Mac.
right.
Take care.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.